So as well, some of you guys are probably like, oh, I hardly have any nitrates in my tank. I have so many plants. That may be great. Plants will consume nitrates as well. However, keep in mind, what is up, guys? Welcome to the Tye-Dyed Iguana channel. As far as other maintenance in the aquarium goes, it's going to depend on the type of filtration you're running in your aquarium. So for folks with canister filters, a lot of my folks with canister filters, they do a deep maintenance on the canister filter approximately every 3 to 4 weeks. For some of those people that utilize hang-on-back filters or HOB filters, you're probably going to have to mess with those a little more frequently. When you do your water change, I generally recommend, especially if you're working with a filter like our tidal filters from our friends over at Chem, I generally recommend you want to pull your filter box out. Then, major thing, people mess this up all the time. So, when I clean my filtration media in my aquarium, you want to make sure that you do not clean your biological media, aka your ceramic resin or your aka matrix from our friends over at Chem. You want to make sure that you're not cleaning that with tap water. Why do I say that? Because if you're cleaning that water that's chlorinated through that biological filtration media, it can wipe out your bacterial colony. No good. So when you do your maintenance on your filter with some of the tank water you've drained, take that ceramic biological media, put it in the dirty tank water. This way we know that the bacteria is not going to die while we're doing the rest of our maintenance. When it comes to other maintenance for your hang-on-back filter, like especially if you're using Tidals or another filter that uses a reusable sponge, take those out, and I like to wring them out too in my dirty tank water that I drained out. This also applies to sponge filters. Sponge filters, generally, about every 3 to 4 weeks, I like to remove them from the aquarium. Some people take a bag and put it around it. That way it doesn't stir up too much detritus when I do that. But however, if you're really gentle with it, I've never really had much of an issue. So I take out my sponge filter, I squeeze it really good, wring it out, and then I take that and put it back in the aquarium. But do not squeeze out that filter in your tank. You want to do it in a separate bucket full of used tank water. So that's it as far as doing the maintenance on the actual mechanical aspect of filtration. As far as other medias go for your home filtration, some folks like to use products like Purigen, Pure Filtrum, Phosbond, Phosphiltrum, or activated carbon, such as matrix carbon. With these products, keep in mind, the Purigen and the Pure Filtrum are rechargeable. So those can be recharged with a bleach water solution and then re-cleaned with Chem Prime. However, the other two medias I mentioned, the Phosbond and the activated carbon, those have a limited absorption capacity. So what does this mean? Once they suck out all the bad stuff out of the aquarium, they can only hold so much, just like a sponge. Beyond that, once they're at capacity, they will start releasing stuff back into the tank. So keep in mind, when you're doing your maintenance, some of those things like matrix carbon and Phosbond, they have a limited capacity. You can't recharge them, you can't reuse them. So you do need to dispose of those appropriately after they've reached their capacity. As far as carbon goes, generally I recommend replacing that about every 30 days. As far as the Phosphiltrum or the Phosbond is concerned, that's going to depend on your silicate and phosphate levels. If you don't know what your phosphates are one of the food sources in addition to nitrate and UV light that algae consume. So if you're having a big algae problem, I always recommend bring in your water, we'll test it, or you can pick up a phosphate test kit. Make sure your water's not coming into the tap with high phosphates, especially in the spring and summer months when farmers are using a lot of fertilizers, tends to run off into the water system, and we see people coming in with a lot of phosphates into their source water. So keep an eye on that. If you're having an algae issue too, I may have a phosphate problem. As far as other maintenance for the tank, obviously too, some of the other things are going to be as needed. So as well, some of you guys are probably like, oh, I hardly have any nitrates in my tank. I have so many plants. That may be great. Plants will consume nitrates as well. However, keep in mind, if you have 100 part per million nitrate, plants are not going to take down your nitrates down to that low of a level. So you're going to have to change the water. Some people find, yeah, I don't have to do water changes because my plants absorb a lot of nitrates. But those folks also probably don't have that heavily stocked of a tank. So it's going to be a bit different if you have a large planted aquarium versus an African cichlid tank. You're going to have to find a way to deal with those nitrates. Generally, people with these large aquariums that are all planted, they have soil, you can barely touch them. Well, generally, those aren't stocked pretty heavy. So they have some microfish, some very small fish, or some shrimp, which are going to be fine because obviously you're not feeding those things a ton. They're eating biofilm and a lot of other things where you're not going to have to worry about your nitrates creeping up very high. As far as other maintenance for your aquarium, when it comes down to it, make sure when you're doing your maintenance, unplug your filter, unplug your heater, especially if you're using a glass heater, you need to make sure that's unplugged for safety reasons. You lower the water level, you do not want any part of the glass heater to be exposed. When it comes to doing water changes as well, be careful, because a lot of folks, they're like, I take my cartridges out and I clean them in the tap water. If you're using a filter like the Aqueon LED filters too, you don't want to rinse those cartridges in tap water because it can kill off that beneficial bacteria as well. So just keep in mind, keep an eye on your nitrate levels. That's a good baseline as to when I need to do a water change and how much I need to do a water change. So if my nitrates are 20 and I have a 10-gallon tank, maybe getting away with like a 2-gallon change a week would be a great option for you too. But keep in mind with these larger aquariums, some people are like, I haven't done a water change in 6 months, and they have a 150-gallon aquarium. Well, you're gonna have to be doing a lot of water out of that aquarium to get those nitrate levels down. So the more you keep up with it more frequently, the less labor it's gonna be on the long term for you as well. If you have any questions about aquarium maintenance or water changes, be sure to drop in store, send us a message online, or just come see us. Thanks guys, and have an excellent day.